into the person and the mindset of a European.
Yeah.
That means that there are no other Europeans that exist on the planet other than where you come from.
Mm-hmm.
And with all things being equal, if we don't go out here with dominance of our kind, through the natural order of things, there will come a time on the planet where there will no longer be a such thing as a European. Because why? We are genetically dominant to the European. You're not hearing me.
I hear you.
No, you're not hearing me.
Why you say that?
You're not hearing me. Because what I'm doing is giving you the historical origin and the reasoning behind white supremacy. That's what they did. They went raping, killing, and stealing everywhere on this planet that they went. As they found these Africans everywhere they went around this planet.
Right.
And they saw when they had union with them, they did not, the children that were born as a result of these unions, they were not European. They were African.
But would you say they had a lighter tone?
Yes, but they were still African in phenotype.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The European realized through his travels throughout this world that if he did not take control or make an attempt to take control of this world, if all things were left to nature's course, there will come a time very soon that there will be no such thing as a European anymore. When the European realized that genetically, that these people that he's finding all over the world, if we're left to their own devices, they found this out by raping our women, and then they see we were in natural form, and they saw the penis of the African man, and immediately compared themselves physically with the African man, and knew instantaneously that they cannot compete mentally nor physically.
Culture of homosexuality.
Yes.
In the ancient Greek culture.
Oh, in the ancient Greek and Roman culture, which still prevails to this day. How many times have you heard about Catholic priests raping and taking little boys' booties? But this is one thing that a lot of people don't. And this is a side note. All of these Catholic priests be ripping off these little boys' booties, right? And have been doing it since time immemorial. When was the last time that you heard of a Catholic priest going to jail? You've never heard of that, correct?
No.
Do you know why? You want me to tell you why?
Yeah.
The reason that you have never heard of a Catholic priest going to jail for molesting and ripping off little boys' booties is because they are Catholic priests, which means what? That they are citizens of the Vatican. The Vatican is a sovereign country.
Yeah.
And if you are a sovereign of the Vatican, the laws, rules, and regulation of any place outside of the Vatican do not apply to you. It gives you something called diplomatic immunity. This is real. There are sovereigns of any sovereign land are only subject to the laws and the rules and the guidance of culture of their sovereign land. Everywhere they go on this planet that is outside of their land or place of origin, the rules and apply to them. That's why you've never heard of a Catholic priest going to jail in America for the rape, molestation, and the ripping off of the booties of little boys in America. You always hear about the Vatican paying settlements to the families of these children, but the priests, they're taken from that parish and sent somewhere else. And they are not subject to prosecution by the United States government because they are sovereign citizens of Vatican City, which is a sovereign country. That's truth. You can Google that.
Yeah, what can you say about that?
You can Google that. That's why you've never ever and this is something that's in American culture. We know that Catholic priests rip off little boys' booty. But you've never ever heard of a Catholic priest being prosecuted or brought on trial, for that matter, for the molestation of a child. It is always handled privately by the Vatican or that particular church parish by their bishop. Do you understand that? And that's supposed to be. Do you know what being the Pope means?
That's power.
I'm going to tell you its exact meaning. The Pope is the incarnation of Christ on earth. That's what the Pope is. They call the Pope, according to the doctrine of the Catholic Church, the Pope is the vicar of Christ. Do you know what the word vicar means? It means the same as. So, with the Catholic Pope being the vicar of Christ, that means that he is the physical incarnation of Jesus Christ on this earth. Do the research. You see, the Roman Catholic Empire did not die. It transformed. It transformed. People don't understand that. So now, back to global white supremacy. Like I told you, the Europeans went everywhere on this planet and circumnavigated this planet and found that there were African people everywhere on this planet that they go, and he did not find Europeans anywhere else on this planet beside Europe. They intermingled with these dark people all around the world, and as a result of the rape of these women, he did not create more Europeans. An African was created. And at that very moment, they knew that if life and living was left to its own devices, there would come a point in time to where on this planet the European would be genetically wiped out. Not because of any malice or anything like that. It's just that the dominating genetic people on this planet, the Aboriginal people, are African, and when we intermingle with you, you cease to exist and become African. So, white supremacy was not created out of hate. White supremacy was created from the preservation of the genetic furtherance of the European. Now, let's take a look at that on a reality basis. Wouldn't you want to preserve your kind?
Well, if you can't.
Because you have to understand one thing fundamentally, right? We are Aboriginal people. The European is not Aboriginal. You will not find a correlation or a connection between the European and the word Aboriginal. Okay? The word Aboriginal, okay, there's a difference. When you hear about peoples, you will hear the word native and indigenous. Those are two code words. The code words native and indigenous only means one thing. The words native and indigenous mean the people that were there when the Europeans came. Okay? That doesn't mean that they're aboriginal. There's a difference between those three words. Native and indigenous only means, they're one and the same. It only means the people that were there when the Europeans raided that land or came or found that land. The word aboriginal means the people that sprang forth from the soil. The people that came forth from the earth. That's what aboriginal means. We are aboriginals. You understand? We are the people that were shaped from the earth.
And this is why we're oppressed today.
This is why we are oppressed today. They took spiritual systems that were taught to them and perverted them, and coming to the realization of their own genetic mortality, created the system of white supremacy to ensure white genetic survival. And that's it. It's that simple. It's that simple. It's that simple.
So what do you think the plan is for the future of their genetic survival?
Well, you have to understand one thing. Despite all their vast efforts, and this is researchable as well, despite all of their vast efforts, the European is worldwide, in all European countries, America included, are at negative birth rate. Their people are dying faster than they can have babies. So that is a negative birth rate. That means statistically, by the numbers, that if it is left to its current devices, they will eventually die out. And that has nothing to do with racial intermingling. They are dying faster than they're reproducing. You have to understand one thing fundamentally. Given what I just told you, despite all of their best efforts and everything that they're doing, they're still at negative birth rate. So they've kicked up white supremacy to another level. And in order for them to move forward, they're still going to have to intermingle with women of Aboriginal race. But what
that's their next move?
That is what they're doing. And I can prove that to you. What they're doing in order to execute that, they're not only making the black man, the so-called black man, obsolete. They're killing the black man. They're incarcerating the black man. They're emasculating the black man, effeminizing the black man, locking up the black man in jail, giving the black man disease, and killing him spiritually to his woman. This is all a plan.
Yeah.
When they realized that they could not enjoy genetic dominance and furtherance on this planet, they had to do the next best thing. They had to take out the very thing that will ensure their genetic destruction. And what is that? The African man. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's white supremacy. Period. Now, everything else that someone would name would be the tools and the vehicles in which white supremacy uses. What I just told you was the historic and actual origin of white supremacy. I told you.
Yeah.
That's the origin.
I think because people are faced with what they are with right at this time right now.
But see, they're thinking too shallowly. Now see, I'm about to fuck with you now. Let me fuck with you. Given the origin of white supremacy from its actual world origin, correct? We cannot blame them for that or be mad at them for that.
Who?
Us as African people.
The European of nowadays? Is that where we're going?
No,
with this?
the European of any time.
Okay.
Because they are living off the benefit of motherfuckers who put in mad work. You understand? and they are responsible for the preservation of this system, so they don't get let off the hook.
Okay.
Because systems have to be preserved.
Right.
Institutions have to be preserved, and traditions carried forward, and principles and guiding principles kept forward for it to be an institution, correct? Mm-hmm. The institution of white supremacy is perpetuated by this society and paradigm, from the money to its physical institutions. So white supremacy is our everyday life. We wake up, breathe, eat, sleep, and thrive and fail within the overall system of white supremacy. Okay? Now, instead of being mad at it, understand its origin and see the merit therein. All they're trying to do is stay alive.
Right.
You understand? Now, with that being said, what are we going to do to enact our insurance into the future?
Right. That's what I'm wondering.
See, but see, all we got to do is follow a blueprint that's already been laid, baby.
Okay. Which one is that?
The one they laid down.
Who's they?
The Europeans.
And what is that?
Create
the capitalistic society.
I mean, you can call it that. It's just capitalism is a code word for white supremacy. Okay. Come on, man.
So the society we live in now,
we have to create for ourselves.
It's suitable.
We have to create for ourselves. We have to create for ourselves. Yeah. We have to use the very same tactics that they use, vis-a-vis and rid of the killing, and malice-filled and subjugative, without all of that,
without white supremacy,
but with institutionally, unitarily, and financially. All we have to do is do it just like they do, and what would that give us? Nationhood. This is a white supremacy system. It's not built for us to be equal to them. It's built for them to win. So that's why we have to create our own. Yeah. Period. What does that entail? Land. What does that entail? Financial structure. What does that entail? Making things. Agriculture. You understand? He is a billionaire. Sure they are. But do you know how many billionaires in America among African American people are a strict minority? Do you understand that? We have the least amount of billionaires on this planet amongst any people. Especially here in America. That has to change. For us to free ourselves from this white supremacy system, we must free ourselves from this system. What is that going to take? Unity. What else is that going to take? Non-participation. You got to look at, little inklings and little sprouts of what needs to be done is given to you, because the devil can't lie to you. The devil got to put everything they do out on Front Street. I'm proof of that. I just told you all of these things that are researchable. These are things that you can look up. This is information that is not hidden. All you have to do is look at it through the proper lens, through the lens of truth. Okay? White supremacy is not just about the subjugation of Africans. The subject and the origin of white supremacy is white genetic annihilation. It's white genetic annihilation, which they saw very early it would happen if things were left to natural devices. Now they see even all the efforts that they've put forth up until this point still is not working. So they had to kick up the system a notch with the killing, emasculization, feminization, and extinction of the black male. Because they got our women, mind, body, and soul. You hear black women, you don't hear no other woman on the planet say that their men are not any good. You don't hear Mexican women say, it ain't no good Mexican men out here. You don't hear white women saying that it ain't no good white men out here. You don't hear Chinese women saying, well, there are no good Chinese men here. No! You only hear that from African women. Why is that? Because they have implanted in the mind of our queen that there is no such thing as a black man. We are all boys. We are little boys. That's why it's plenty of black guys out here, but they say there are no good black men. They're either married or gay, which is a further proof of the systems that I told you are put into place.
They suck right into it.
They suck right into it.
So why they can't see through that?
Because they are caught up in this paradigm. Because we have been taught, especially women, African women. African women are among, if you look at it statistically, are the most educated demographic in America right now. Right. Black women got their education, boy. Yep. Amongst all women.
Oh, yeah.
You better know this.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, there's a flip side to that. Black men in this country are not equal to that statistic. So that is automatically setting up a paradigm to where the black women think that the black man is not worthy of her. He's not mentally able to compete with her. And the white supremacy culture personifies that and circulates that and makes our black women think, oh, he's not even with you mentally. And because of that, he cannot support you financially.
Brainwash it through the media.
Right. And not only does that brainwash the African woman, that brainwashes the African man too. Yeah. She make more money than me. I'm not a man. Yeah. So I got to do things to prove my man.
Self-esteem.
Right. It's a system.
It's natural anyway.
It's a system. It's a system.
Yeah.
It's a system.
Tear at you. Of course.
Through this fake financial system. It didn't used to be that way. The black man was the head of the household from the end of slavery all the way up until the early 1950s. Then something changed. The civil rights movement. Because the first black child to go to the integrated school was what? A black female. White supremacy stopped focusing on the tools and the institutions of white supremacy. Look at white supremacy for what it is. The fear of a people disappearing from this earth genetically. And they are doing everything that they can do to ensure the furtherance and the spread and the life of their kind. That's all anybody wants to do. Now, with that being said, stop looking at it emotionally. Let's look at it prudently. We must do the same thing to ensure the longevity and the furtherance of ourselves and our kind. How do we do that? First of all, it takes unity. We have to band together. We have to stop looking at ourselves like we are our own worst enemy. We have to love each other.
Yeah.
We gotta love each other.
I say we don't love each other.
We don't. Do you know why we don't love each other? Because we don't love ourselves. We have to start loving ourselves. We gotta start loving ourselves. We are worth being loved. Let me give you something that'll help you. If you are alive right now and within the sound of my voice, know that your life was ordained by the Most High creation of everything that exists. And I'll tell you why. When you and your mother and father got together in that sexual union, your mother only had one egg, correct? That was ready to be fertilized, maybe two at that time. Okay? Your mother had that maybe one or two eggs that was available for fertilization. Your father released 500 million sperm. 500 million sperm was released through the union of your mother and father's sexual union. Only one sperm can fertilize an egg at one time. So that means that you beat out 400,999 other sperm to be alive.
What?
You were meant to be here.
That's love.
You were meant to be here. You were not meant to be subjugated. You were not meant to be mentally imprisoned. What you were meant to do was realize who you are, what your mission on this planet is, and how to go about executing that mission. And you being alive is no accident. You know, you don't hear any other races call their children accidents.
Yeah. You know, just our culture, what's going on in Chicago.
Right. Killing each other.
It's killing each other.
We're killing each other. That's because we don't know who we are.
We talk about they're the enemy, but we're the enemy.
No, we're the enemy. You have to understand, we are the only people that exist on this planet who identify ourselves as a color in a crayon box. You don't hear Native American people calling themselves red people. You don't hear Asian people or Chinese or Japanese people calling themselves a yellow man. You don't hear people. The only place white people exist is in America. You don't hear Europeans from Britain that say, "Oh, I'm white." No. You don't hear Arabs call themselves sand niggas. Okay? We gotta fix our mind. Gotta fix how we look at ourselves. We have to fix how we view ourselves. The name you call yourself in order to be a valid human being must identify with land, history, and culture. You hear people say, I'm Brazilian, I'm Portuguese, I'm Chinese. What are they doing? They are attaching themselves and identifying themselves with a geographical place on the planet, the history of that geographic place, as well as the culture that goes along with that. So with all that being said, when you call yourself a black person, what are you saying about yourself? You're saying that, look up the definition of the word black in the Webster's dictionary, and it'll tell you everything about that you need to know about that word. And then it should make you think about identifying yourself as a black person. And with that, I gotta go.